All right, man. What is going on? Welcome, guys, to another episode of Real Rumble. Just going to talk about some of the top movie news here today. We got a couple updates about a few things, a couple things that I'm truly excited about to share with you all. But hey, guys, let's go ahead and get to the program. If you guys haven't got a chance to subscribe to the channel, man, please go ahead and do so. Because I appreciate all the love, of course. So, let's dive into what we got going on today. Okay. So yesterday we were talking, and of course, if you got a chance to see my episode yesterday, we got a chance to really dive into some of the things that we know so far about Avengers Doomsday, which is probably one of the most anticipated films ever. But it's supposed to be a love letter to comic book movies. So they're really going to nerd out when it comes to this particular movie, and they're going to try to give the fans everything they possibly can, fan service out the ass, along with, bringing back some great surprises. So it's going to be truly interesting how they plan to do it. We're getting kind of hints, a trailer's coming, when is it going to come? Is it going to show in the movie theaters? Are we going to get it around Christmas time? Well, today, it was announced when we should see the first look or first trailer for Avengers Doomsday. So that kind of got me pretty stoked. I know there's been some rumors floating around that it was going to premiere during Avatar's Fire and Ash, which comes out December 19th, which I feel is very fitting. It's a good, nice little Christmas present to us here, all of us nerds. But based on a couple reliable sources, that the first trailer for Avengers Doomsday will likely be with us before the end of the year, and it seems they were bang on the money. This comes from Collider. Collider reports that multiple sources have confirmed that Doomsday trailer will debut in theaters ahead of Avengers Fire and Ash on December 19th. So, based on what Collider has provided to us, we're most likely going to get a trailer before Avatar's Fire and Ash, which, by the way, looks really awesome. So, when then? Right? So, we should expect it before Fire and Ash. So, that's December 19th. So, I would say probably around the beginning of December, or maybe at the end of this month, maybe like a little Turkey Day gift. But the trailer is coming soon. I've even seen some stuff where, what's his name's been very, very vocal about his involvement with the project, and that's Channing Tatum, who got a chance to bring us, Gambit to life after all of these years that it was anticipated that Gambit was coming. But he promises that it's going to be so much Gambit action, and that everyone is going to see and love this movie. So, based on that, I know they're trying to do their things to kind of hype it up, but from what I'm understanding is that this is just going to be just a grand event, in which Avengers movie should be, right? I remember when that first Avengers came out, I believe it was like 2012. I mean, it was truly like nothing I've ever seen before. We've had comic book movies before. We had Iron Man, we had Captain America, all of the Thor, all those movies that led up to the Avengers, which I thought were all great. It was probably it's the best start, and it has Marvel lasting this long, based on the strong start it had with those movies. But then they came with the Avengers, so we got a chance to be able to see Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, all together on the big screen. It was nothing like we've ever seen before. I mean, we have never seen nothing like that before. So, then we get Avengers, Age of Ultron, where we get some more characters introduced, Scarlet Witch and some other new additions to the team. And then we get Avengers Infinity Wars, which was absolutely bonkers. And to be able to have all of those heroes on one screen, and multiple stories taking place, which are all going to tie into the inevitable, which was Endgame, which was just the pinnacle of all superhero movies, in my opinion. So they have a huge feat at their hands. But with the Russo brothers coming in, you know, bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, I'm still curious how that's going to play out. But if you're a comic book movie fan and and you're kind of disappointed with Marvel's giving you, I feel like, in my stomach, I feel optimistic about what we're going to get with Avengers Doomsday. And hell, what we're going to get from this trailer. I'm expecting Doom, Doom, Doom. I don't care about anything else. We want to see Doom. That's all. We've seen all these heroes. We've seen the Fantastic Four. We've seen the X-Men, right? I mean, we've seen all of that shit. We want to see Doom. We want to see Doom. I know I do. So, let me know what you guys think down below. Are you excited for this trailer to come out? I know I am. Please, Russo brothers, Disney, give us a little bit of a gift, man. Give us something the end of the year on a good high note to get us excited for what you guys are going to be giving us next December. All right. So now we got a little idea what's going on with the Avengers there, when we're going to get a trailer. So I want to stick with Marvel because next thing I was going to talk about was there's a new miniseries that it will be debuting on Disney Plus starting in January. And that is called Wonder Man. Now, Wonder Man is going to be starring, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's, man, off the top of my head, I can't remember how to say it, but it's Abdul Mateen, the gentleman that played Mr. Manhattan in the HBO series of Watchmen. Good actor, very good actor. He was in Candyman. But we got a little bit of news about Wonder Man and kind of what we're going to be expecting a little bit from the series. But Marvel today actually, surprisingly, released the runtimes for all 8 episodes of the TV series. And surprisingly to that, there are actually very short episodes. So let's check this out. So, as we know, Wonder Man debuts on Disney Plus next January, and the runtime for each episode now appears to have been revealed. Now, they're surprisingly short and suggested that Marvel television series will be a relatively breezy affair. As far as we're aware, the plan is for these episodes to release weekly, though we wouldn't be surprised if the first couple premiered on the same day. Marvel Studios has yet to announce an official release schedule. So we are aware that they are going to be dropping it in January, but they don't have an exact date of when. Now, before I go ahead and, display the run times for all 8 episodes, just to go ahead and give a little bit of context, Marvel normally is only producing about 6 episodes for their Disney Plus series, right? Hawkeye, Ironheart recently, Daredevil. Actually, Daredevil had more. But for the most part, most of the Disney Plus series usually have about 6 episodes, right? Even with the Star Wars ones as well. So, they're already going to be extending it by 2 episodes. So maybe that's the reason for the short runtime, right? Maybe they just kind of diluted some of these episodes so they can make another episode. However, with the longest episode of Wonder Man clocking in at 34 minutes and the shortest at 23 minutes, these runtimes are in the same ballpark as a sitcom, for example, rather than your usual 45 to 60 minutes for drama. Still, takes credit into account that the 23-minute episode is more likely to be around 18 to 19-minute mark. But here I am displaying, here's episode 1 through 8, and each of their runtimes, as you see there, 32 minutes, 32, 32, 30, 23, 34, 33, 32. So very short episodes. I'm curious what this is going to be about. I mean, from the teaser that we've gotten, I think they released a few weeks ago, it wasn't much. Like an actor trying to, involve it, trying to make his fortune in Hollywood. We did get a chance to see Ben Kingsley's character from the Iron Man movies. But from my perspective, if they are telling a good story, I'm not necessarily mad about the run times. I will be upset. But then flip it around, right? If I do enjoy it and I'm like, man, I want more of this, and then I'm getting these short episodes, similar to kind of what they did with Peacemaker in a way. Now, I don't think the show is going to be nowhere near as good as Peacemaker, but however, Peacemaker, we got some episodes like 35 minutes. It was like, what kind of shit is that, James Gunn? Why do that to us, man? We wait all week to get 30 minutes. Now, some of those episodes were just straight bangers. So I'm curious how Disney and the Wonder Man plan to do this. So based on, this actually comes from the New York Comic Con. This is said last month by the starring actor. He goes, I think it's the coolest thing to me that it doesn't feel like it's about superheroes. To me, it feels like it's about ambition, friendship, and dreams. I think just the idea of Simon being a guy who has something, who feels like he has something to offer. He feels like he is in this really big world with a really big talent that nobody knows about. And I think that's the very relatable thing, is being ambitious and going after your dreams. The actor continued. We get to tell the story, do it in a clever and fun way with some attitude, and hide it in the infrastructure, the world of Marvel. It's really cool to be a part of something like this. So let me know what you guys think of this runtime down below. Is this something that's going to steer you away? Probably not, shouldn't, right? I'm still going to check this out. It's Marvel. I'm a nerd for this shit. But just got to go ahead and give here's a synopsis for Wonder Man. It says, in Wonder Man, an aspiring Hollywood actor, Simon Williams, is struggling to get his career off the ground. During a chance meeting with Trevor Slately, an actor whose biggest role may be well behind him, Simon learns legendary director Von Kovic is remaking the superhero film Wonder Man. These two actors, at opposite ends of their career, Dodlin pursue life-changing roles in this film as audience get a peek behind the curtain of the entertainment industry. The show stars, of course, Abdul Mantees II, Ben Kingsley, Arian Moayed, ex-Mayo, Oliver Thurbley, and Brian Bowers, Demetrius Gross, and John Pantalano are all expected to appear. Wonder Man is written by Andrew Guest, Paul Welsh, and Madeline Walters. Zeke Nicholson. Damn, they got a whole roster for this for this damn thing. Directors on the series include Destin Daniel Cretton. That's pretty cool. That guy's going to be directing the new Spider-Man coming out. It's also James Paulsall, Tiffany Johnson, and Stell Meggy. I apologize if I don't know any of these individuals' names, but the show is created by Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest. Wonder Man executive producers are Kevin Feige. The whole ordeals, and it actually has a premiere date for January 26th of 2026. So, are you guys excited for Wonder Man? Do you think this show is going to be good? I like the casting. I do. But with the trend of Disney Plus shows, I'm not going to hold my breath on this one, okay? But as it comes out, I'm, of course, going to check it out. I'm going to watch it. I'll review it. And we'll discuss it, But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Alright, so one Marvel Cinematic Universe show down. We're going to go on to the next one. Now, that one's going to be premiering in January. But the one we got coming out after that is one of my absolute favorite shows on television. It has been since it premiered on Netflix a while back. And that, of course, is Daredevil. Daredevil was brought back last year, titled Daredevil Born Again. Same characters playing the title Daredevil, Kingpin. Of course, we got John Bernthal as Punisher. We got our faves back, man. One of the pivotal characters in this past season, and is going to have an even huger part going into the second season. That, of course, is going to be Bullseye. Bullseye is one of Daredevil's most popular villains besides Kingpin. But one of the fuss about a line, and for individuals who are a fan of Daredevil, the comics, being brought to life here, was, man, when are we gonna get a comic accurate Bullseye suit? We didn't get it with the movie with Ben Affleck. We haven't got it yet in Daredevil, and then of course Daredevil Born Again. We did see him in a suit where he was wearing a blue mask, blue type of like Kevlar type of outfit. That was at the very beginning of the season where him and Daredevil are brawling and fighting, and Daredevil kicks his ass off the roof. He kills his best friend. I get it, but man, I think us Daredevil fans, Marvel fans, we're going to be in for a treat for this new season coming out next year. So, today, now this is a leak, okay? It says we get our first look at Bullseye's comic accurate costume in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. Man, let's check it out, man. All right, so here is a actual comic accurate version of his outfit. See it there? We got the white. You got the knife in his hand, the white gloves. You got the big bullseye on the head, right? And you see kind of the the white outline right there around the neck. Pretty sweet, to be honest, right? Pretty sweet. I always think it's a very, very cool costume. So here is our first look at Wilson Bethel as Bullseye's comic accurate picture. Now, he's not wearing a mask, okay? So we're curious to see, what that's going to look like. However, if you do look, he's got the line right there. It's gray, of course, He's got the little knife there. This is looking a lot more comic accurate than what we've been getting in that regard. But what great casting, for Daredevil and Daredevil Born Again. I'm so glad that they didn't decide to kind of like redo it. They brought back Charlie Cox. They're bringing back Wilson Bethel. You brought back Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. I mean, it was peak television, when those guys were on the screen. All 3 seasons were awesome, especially season 1 was in bonkers, right? Season 2 up the ante. Daredevil displays some of the best choreography and best fight scenes of any television series that I've ever witnessed. Just as my opinion, you can more than welcome to, give your opinion on that in the comments below. But just from the action, the realism, we haven't seen comic books movies done like this, besides of course the Dark Knight with that dark grittiness. But, and then I'm so glad with last season, they also kept that, they kept the violence, they kept the gritty. They, there were some episodes you could feel where it looks like there was episodes that were filmed where you felt like, oh man, this is kind of what they were going to do, but they end up going in a totally different direction, as we all know, prior. And then the way the season ended, holy shit, those last 2 to 3 episodes were just fantastic. We got Punisher being taken, Punisher releasing himself. Kingpin pretty much has lockdown of the city of New York. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be like that within the next year or so. But instead of Kingpin, we got Zoran the Moron. So that's going to be pretty interesting, but he had the city on lockdown. He had martial law be in place. He has this task force that he made to hunt down these vigilantes. So I'm very curious what they're going to do. And then the way the season ended when you got Daredevil, he's like, man, we got to form our own team. Which I think is going to be a hint at the Defenders. So hopefully we're going to get Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. That's going to be sick. We got Bullseye joining. We got Punisher hopefully shows up. But I'm what I'm most excited about is when are we going to integrate Spider-Man with these characters? Holy shit, man. I would love for Daredevil to be in Brand New Day. I understand Spider-Man's too big for the small screen, but man, maybe a little cameo wouldn't hurt. But guys, what do you guys think of this costume? I want to see the mask, man. I want to see the mask. I want to see the bullseye on the head. I think that's going to be sick. But let me hear your guys' comments down below. What do you guys think of this comic accurate suit? Do you think it is comic accurate? Do you still not like it? I would prefer just a carbon copy of it, man. That's what I want. But can't always get what we wish for. But let me hear your guys' thoughts down below. All right. So all that MCU movie news out the way. We got some pretty cool stuff. So, guys, next thing I wanted to talk about was anybody who's feeling a little bit of nostalgia. And, we're getting a lot of these IPs getting brought back. And, we're getting remakes and redos and reboots and blah, 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 blah. So we're if it doesn't have a huge name to it, a lot of times it's not even getting made. Well, news broke today that we will be revisiting the Gremlins in 2027. So today, Gremlins 3 confirmed for 2027 release. Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus are returning to this project. So we've been hearing rumors about a third Gremlin movie for years. That's very true. We got both of those movies in the 80s. There's always been speculation with it being such a huge and iconic franchise, and most of our childhoods. I mean, we all watched Gizmo, and Gremlins was awesome. Okay, well, guys, we're in luck. So fans have pretty much given up on the prospect of seeing Gizmo and his not quite so adorable pals on the big screen. Well, now Warner Brothers has finally announced that Gremlins 3 is officially in development and set to hit theaters on November 19th, 2027. Steven Spielberg will return as executive producer, and the original movie writer Chris Columbus is on board to direct. Along with new additions, Final Destination's Bloodlines duo Zach Lipovitsky and Adam Stein will pen the script with Columbus. There's no words on whether any of the original cast members will be back, but we'd say there's a good chance the trequel will focus on an all-new group of characters. Now, this is a statement by Chris Columbus himself. I'm filled with a tremendous surge of inspiration and passion as I embark on this cinematic journey. He said to The Hollywood Reporter, "It is an honor to reunite with Steven Spielberg and Warner Brothers as we bring this latest chapter of Gremlins to a brand new generation of moviegoers who will experience all the thrills of this grand adventure on the big screen." Few titles are as beloved and iconic as Gremlins, and we're beyond exciting to bring it back for both lifelong fans and a whole new generation. That was said by Jesse Ehrman, Warner's president and development and production. It is a privilege to be working alongside Steven Spielberg, Chris Columbus, and the entire creative team, and we look forward to the audience experiencing the magic, mayhem, and the heart of Gremlins on the big screen in 2027. Now, the original Gremlins, of course, was released in 1984, and it definitely has been, just a phenomenon. I mean, just a huge pop culture phenomenon. The movie is a fairly dark Christmas set horror comedy. Introduced Gizmo, a cute creature known as Mogwai, who is capable of spawning ferocious green monsters if 3 very specific rules are not followed. Never get him wet. Never expose him to bright light. Sunlight will kill him. And never feed him after midnight. The film was a box office hit. Produced for only $11 million. Man, imagine if you could make a movie for $11 million nowadays. That's pretty nuts. And grossing $151 million domestically. That's nuts. They made literally $150 million profit And then, of course, a 1990 sequel, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, followed, but the bizarre satire, which has amassed a cult following over the years, only made $41 million at the box office. So, what do you guys think of a Gremlins 3 coming, man? I mean, look, this movie was a huge part of my childhood, especially the first one. The second one I didn't really like that much, to be honest. But man, that first one, I couldn't tell you how many times that I just ran through that through that movie, you know, and watched it over and over again. Spike, I mean, was just my absolute favorite. I mean, what a good gem, man. And it's really interesting the fact that they are going to bring it back, you know, and bring it for a newer generation. I think that's a very good idea because I mean, these kids today, I mean, they don't know some of the great shit that we got a chance to grow up watching, man. They've only got a chance to experience these Netflix and Hulus and, you know, all those different things, man, which is just, I feel are just so saturated compared to the way things used to be. Things used to have so much life to them and so much, charisma and things were just so original, man. So I'm really excited for this. This is going to be a fun family fare. So I recommend for anybody who has a family out there, man, hey man, this is a good time at the movies coming. Now it's about it. Looks like it's going to be about 2 years from now, which, hey, good time to definitely get a good story in place, and just be able to make a good movie, man. You know, especially since the last one was made in 1990. Holy shit, man. That's 35 years ago. So really cool stuff, man. Let me know what you think down below. Are you excited for a new Gremlins movie? What'd you think of the original? Was it a huge part of your childhood like it was for me? Let me hear your comments down below. All right, so with that one down, next thing I wanted to get into was a movie that I got even, I mean, probably one of my most anticipated films of this year, especially after watching the trailer, the previous trailer that they released a while back. But we actually got our first reactions online following the UK premiere of the upcoming movie, The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell, directed by Edgar Wright. Anybody who's a fan of movies, I mean, come on, man. You should know who Edgar Wright is. So let's check them out, man. Ever since the trailer release, and if you haven't got a chance to see the trailer for The Running Man, or you're not familiar with The Running Man at all, this is, of course, a remake of the original Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from 1987. Today, they're going to be remaking it with Glenn Powell. And if you haven't got a chance to watch a trailer, please go ahead and watch the trailer. This movie looks absolutely nuts. It looks action-packed. It looks like it's going to be a thrill ride from start to finish. And I couldn't be more excited for it, to be honest. Well, you know, sometimes they get to release movies, you know, sooner over there in the UK and other places. Well, I'm glad they did because we get our first reactions for what The Running Man is going to be. And this is, of course, from moviegoers and their experience for this movie. So let's go ahead and let's check some of them out. I was looking through them. I think there's probably a good 10 or so. So we got some opinions, man. So I'm pretty excited to hear about what this movie, you know, got, you know, offered to some of these folks and their experience here. So let's check it out. So with that being said, we got, all right, so all right, so first reaction is from one gooch from one gooch after another. That's pretty funny. This is happy to report that Edgar Wright's The Running Man has a heavy dose of Verhoeven flavored camp and satire. Big, loud movie led by a physical Glenn Powell performance that lets him flex his leading man charisma in new ways. Can't wait to talk about it. That's awesome. This is from Drew Taylor. It says, The Running Man rules. Edgar Wright unleashes superb set pieces mixing Verhoeven-style satire, sly social commentary, and high-stakes thrills. Best of all, it anchored by a great emotional, resonant performance by Glenn Powell as an every man push too far, run, don't walk. This is from the distracted Tatiana. Says the Running Man feels all too timely, but at least it's having fun satirizing society. Glenn Powell makes for an excellent action hero, and I look forward to the discourse I am certain the final act will give birth to. One of my favorite Stephen King adaptations in recent years. It's from Adam Kahn. It says UK premiere night here in London and a special screening in IMAX for The Running Man. I had absolute blast with The Running Man movie. It's relentless. I never really had time to breathe in a good way. It has that wonderful right touch to it, even if it's not his best film. Interesting. This is from Rachel Leishman. It says, The Running Man was everything I wanted it to be and so much more. Action-packed, emotional, and a star vehicle for Glenn Powell. Edgar Wright really bottled magic with Stephen King's novel, and this is going to be an instant classic. It just fucking rules, man. Love it. Love the enthusiasm. This is by JoBlo.com. You know, he's, of course, famous for, you know, movie news and trailers, stuff like that. Our man, Jimmy to the O, saw The Running Man features Glenn Powell in a performance that only continues to prove what the actor is capable of. Edgar Wright takes a slightly different approach, taking on an action film that is vastly different from Arnold's turn. This is from Filmland Empire. It says The Running Man is glorious, a brilliantly old school blockbuster, fast-paced, action-packed, yet character-driven with a chaotic energy reminiscent of Scott Pilgrim. I love Scott Pilgrim. Glenn Powell burns up the screen, angry, masculine, funny, and with a proper film star charisma. Loved it. And Perry Nemiroff. She wrote, what a year for Stephen King adaptations. The Life of Chuck, The Long Walk, It, Welcome to Derry, and now The Running Man. It's also fantastic. I enjoyed the 87 film, but I was real eager to see a more faithful adaptation of the novel. Not only do Edgar Wright and company deliver big on, let's see if there's more. That's going to take us to Twitter. Don't. It says, and delivers big on that front, but he managed to do so while making it feel like an Edgar Wright movie. He's got a remarkably firm handle on the style and tone of the film, and that's what allows it to be both bombastic, high-energy fun, and also just grounded enough to ensure you care to take the story home with you after the credits roll. So, got several more down the line here, but I mean, really, the consensus that we're getting here is that this movie fucking rules. I mean, it looks like it's not quite a faithful adaptation of the movie, but we are going to be getting a fun, entertaining, action-packed thrill ride from start to finish. And then I'm hearing a lot of stuff about Glenn Powell's performance. I mean, Glenn Powell has truly came on the scene here in the recent years, pretty much ever since Top Gun Maverick. I mean, and he is a true leading man, and he's one of our bigger actors today. So it is really cool. You know, it was interesting to see him in it, you know, over some bigger stars, especially with it being such an iconic movie from the 80s. But from what we're seeing here, Edgar Wright's style, Glenn Powell's performance, just the tone of it, the action. I mean, it just seems like this movie is going to be a fun ride at the movie theaters. And what else can we ask for? What else can we ask for as a moviegoer than to just go sit down, escape, watch a good, entertaining movie that's almost got you like, holy shit, what's going to happen next? Oh shit, what's happening? And you're just so in tune with the story going on. That's what movies are about, man. So I'm excited for this film. I can't wait for it to come out. And it's going to be hitting theaters very, very soon. So What do you guys think? What do you think of some of these opinions here? Now, of course, I know some of these people's job to kind of boast them up, but from the consensus that we're getting is that this movie looks like it's going to be fun. It looks like this is going to be very good. But are you excited for it? Let me know down below. All right, so guys, we're going to be flying back into the comic book world for my last two topics of today. We talked about Marvel earlier in the show, so who are we going to be talking about this go around? DCU. All right, so with 2026 on the horizon, DCU, I feel, is off to a fantastic start. We of course got the Creature Commandos, which I really enjoyed. Then we got Superman. Now, Superman was a huge deal. I absolutely loved Superman. I thought Superman was fucking, I mean, let's just be straight up. It was fantastic, okay? And I even liked it the second go around. I thought it was a great introduction to, of course, the DCU. I put it on par with like the original Iron Man. I mean, it had that same symbolism. It had the same, neither film was perfect, but was it a good stepping stone? Absolutely. And the world that James Gunn introduced us to only extended on that with Peacemaker Season 2, which I truly enjoyed. I even liked the way it ended. Despite all controversy, I know people were expecting cameo this, cameo that, Blue Beetle, and this and that. Cool. Will all those things be awesome? For sure. Right? Who wouldn't have liked that? But at the same time, guys, this is some of the things that have ruined Marvel, right? Marvel got ruined by the fact that it continued to just be so, lean so heavily on, big appearances, and catastrophic this and that. I mean, and all these team ups. I mean, these things are unnecessary. We have superheroes who sure work together, but they are also their own superhero in a sense where they got their own city, they got their own territory that they protect, and they have their own comic book. So the fact that Marvel was constantly intertwining, it just makes it all confusing. So when things happen, for instance, in for anybody who hasn't seen the Marvels, right? Which it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. It did terrible at the box office for sure, but it wasn't terrible. But there's the end scene where we're in the X-Men world and we see a CGI version of Kelsey Grammer's Beast, right? So if you haven't seen the Marvels, and then that part is going to probably most likely play a moment in Avengers Doomsday, you're confused. And this interconnection, it's kind of what's ruined Marvel, I feel, in a sense. It's part of the problem, right? And I think James Gunn doesn't want to make that same mistake with the DCU. So, the constant cameos and team-ups, we're going to see less of that, I feel, with the DCU. And Peacemaker, I felt, was, the way it ended, people were disappointed. But it set up Salvation, one. It set up Checkmate. These are two pivotal parts that are going to play dividends in the future of the DCU. Okay? So, well, now Superman is done. Peacemaker Season 2 is done. We got Lanterns that was announced, which looks like this is going to be a Jon Stewart story with Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre as the titled characters of Hal Gordon and Jon Stewart. Like, holy shit, great casting. I mean, how could you get better than that? I mean, seriously, right? If you're going to be going with an older, rugged Hal Gordon, come on, man. Kyle Chandler is that guy. But we also got Supergirl. And then recently reports, and I also saw like a little snippet from behind the scene. It looks like somebody caught on a drone or something. I'm not sure how that happened, but it looks like it's a scene that they were filming in Supergirl. And it was like Supergirl was kicking ass. Then they showed Lobos. I mean, it just looks absolutely insane. But Lanterns is supposed to be what's next. But then we also heard in speculations that, oh no, we might not see Lanterns until after Supergirl. So there's a lot of confusion there. Well, we looks like we have absolutely cleared that up today, where Warner Brothers Discoveries held an investors call today, and while the DC Studios updates were few and far between, we have some news on, of course, when we are going to get a release window in regards to Lanterns. Okay, so it is officially revealed what that release window is going to be. And that, of course, looking at this article here, and this is, of course, guys, from Comic Book Movie News. It says the release window for Lanterns was officially revealed like Peacemaker. It appears we can expect a show to bypass HBO for an HBO Max debut. That means The Penguin and Watchmen remain the only DC TV series to get the HBO treatment. Penguin's awesome. Penguins necessarily didn't feel like a comic book show. It felt like almost like a Sopranos type of show, and that was fantastic. Waiting week to week to watch that. Peacemaker, I thought Peacemaker did get the HBO treatment. It released on HBO and then also HBO Max. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong. I have just HBO Max, so I don't have the channel HBO no more, I guess. So with Lanterns is pretty much going to be dealt with similar to Peacemaker. That makes sense. And so this is, of course, this is where things stand with the DC. So importantly, with its first theatrical release, Superman, DC Studios marked a new area and critical first step on its 10-year journey to deliver fans a fresh and cohesive storyline across films, television, while bringing new heroes and villains to the surface. Building on Superman's foundation, upcoming DC Studios projects include Lanterns, which will debut on HBO Max, is a keyword, early 2026. Supergirl and Clayface, which are scheduled for theatrical releases in the summer and fall of 2026 respectively, and Man of Tomorrow, the follow-up to Superman, with James Gunn, is currently writing and will again direct. We remain incredibly excited about the momentum at DC Studios and its prospects to reconnect with fans and ignite the next generation of these beloved characters. Now, on the aforementioned phone call, Zaslav confirmed that the script for Man of Tomorrow has been written by James Gunn, and that's going to be next. I then mentioned some other things which we're going to get into, but before we get into that, so let's listen to that here. So at the moment, we got DC Studios with the huge momentum from Superman, Peacemaker, going into the new year. And then we got projects, Lanterns, Supergirl, Clayface, all scheduled for next year as well. Now, Lanterns is going to debut on HBO Max in early 2026. Now, I don't know about you all, but I take early 2026, I don't know, maybe like January to March type of deal, right? I don't, in that first quarter of the year, I guess, you could go January to April. If it's not released in that window, then that's not considered early, my opinion. So I'm suspecting that's when we're most likely to see it. I think February is a good time, probably, March, but we are going to be expecting Lanterns. So we got huge momentum for next year. So January to April, I suspect that's when we're going to start seeing Lanterns, or the premiere of Lanterns, which, to be honest, man, I'm absolutely stoked for. They also got Ulrich Thompson playing Sinestro. Like, if anybody doesn't know who that guy is, go watch Banshee, and he plays like the Amish, like Kingpin type of, oh my god, just fantastic performance, menacing. So I don't know how more excited I can get from a bad guy for that, but Lantern seems to be being handled right. And then from what we've heard from Lanterns and from Zavlaz in previous statements, where he was saying like this is going to be like award-winning type show, similar to Penguin. So, I'm really, really, really excited for what Lanterns is going to bring. And then we already got kind of a synopsis for what the story entails, right? It says, our story takes place in a couple different time periods. Lanterns showrunner Chris Mundy recently revealed. And so the challenge was for the characters to be consistent at their core. John's sort of a different person in one of them than he is in another. Our show is a lot of ways about replacement, which should somewhat set aside and when it is time for the next person to take the reins. He continued, hinting at the series will see Hal Gordon pass the Green Lantern mantle to John Stewart. That push and pull between those two characters is really important. So much of the power that John has is by not taking the bait, understanding that you lose your power if you're yelling and screaming. That's what we're trying to convey. That he knows he belongs, so he doesn't have to overcompensate, Mundy added. There is a real balance there. That's just innately inside of Aaron. He's big, he's an intimidating presence just physically, but there's a softness to him too. There's a thoughtfulness. You can't teach that. So, Lanterns follows new recruits John Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Gordon, two intergalactical cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Chris Mundy, who recently did True Detective Night Country, is serving as showrunner and executive producer and will write Lanterns with David Lindelof, who wrote, of course, the Watchmen TV series, but also he did that three. Oh man, that's driving me crazy. It was The Leftovers or something like that. It was an HBO series where like half of everybody like disappeared, like just didn't come back. It was nuts. Overnight they were just gone. And then comic book script Tom King. The cast includes Aaron Pierre as John Stewart, Kyle Chandler as Hal Gordon, Ulrich Thompson as Sinestro, Kelly MacDonald, Garrett Dillahunt, Porna Jacanith, I butchered that name, Nicole Ari Parker, Jason Ritter, and Jasmine Species Jones round out the cast. Lanterns is set to premiere on HBO in early 2026. So I think it sounds great, guys. It does sound like a true detective type of story, right? Remember the first season, all the seasons of True Detective really have the same concept, right? Where it's just like something that happened in the past is being revisited today. And it's just like something that just got to get that closure years later. Well, this looks really cool, and it looks like it's two guys. You know, one of them is, of course, the veteran to start off. The other one's like the rook, and then it shows them their relationship gradually just their bond as it goes on, and then of course the passing of the mantle. I'm really excited for this one. I'm very, very excited for this one. So with that down. The next part of what Zavlaz was blabbering about, right, was he called Matt Reeves, The Batman Part 2, and this is his words, terrific. Now, of course, man, you're the head of studio, you know, you're going to definitely hype up all the things that you got, right? You're gonna hype them up. That's just what you're gonna do, right? It's mine. We have pride in it, right? But that is a phrasing that I honestly don't doubt. Yeah, I don't doubt that for one bit. You know, him using that word in regards to the script. Now, guys, look, we got Batman the Part 1 in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Hold on. We're going to have to look that up. The Batman. Yeah, released in 2022. So, one, it's already been 3 years since the movie released. But it's not going to be coming out until 2027. So, we got another 2 years. So, it's going to be 5 years in between these movies. So I only suspect that this movie is going to be grand, you know? Robert Pattinson's coming back. It's going to be his Junior's Bruce Wayne. We're getting a villain that has never been done before on the big screen. So I'm curious there. Hush. Is it, what are we getting in that regard, right? Is it the Court of Owls? Just something that's never been done on the big screen. So I'm very, very eager to see, what this Batman Part 2 is going to be. Is it Part 2 of a 3? Will there be a third? I honestly like the idea that they plan to go, with two different Batmans, very different styles. This Batman is going to be more grounded, Christopher Nolan-esque type of work versus the Batman that we're going to get part of the DC universe is going to be a little bit more campy, I would think, right? Not necessarily is going to be, but you're going to have to introduce characters like Clayface. You're going to have to introduce Superman. It's got to be a world where they exist in, right? And I just feel that Matt Reeves' The World, which is almost, I guess, I'll be honest with you, I think it resembles a lot of what Tim Burton did with his Batman, just that grittiness to it, and just the way the architecture, the way that kind of was articulated. I feel that that's what Matt Reeves gave this Batman, the Batman here and that universe, but it doesn't fit for a Superman to join into it, or I just don't think it does, But who knows, right? I heard there's been speculations about that, but I do like the idea of the two different Batmans. I think you can have two different takes on Batmans. It's no different than what the cartoons do. It's no different than what the comic books do. So intrigued there. But Zazav calling the script terrific, I don't doubt it. Now, Matt Reeves is not going to be directing it. I believe the person directing it was the individual that directed a few episodes of The Penguin, right? So it's going to have that grittiness too. So I'm very, very eager, very excited for what that film is going to bring us. But guys, man, that is it for Real Rumble today. Thank you guys for joining, man. If you finish and you're here at the end, man, I commend you, and I appreciate all the love, the support, and hell, you finding me interesting enough to just stick around. So, hey, if you haven't got a chance to subscribe, man, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But guys, thanks again for another episode of Real Rumble. See you again tomorrow. Peace out.